Alright, here we go, baby. Let's go. X-Men Book of Revelation one-shot. As always, if you have not been following the X-Men Age of Revelation storyline, please do check out my playlist so you can get caught up and you know exactly what's going on. 10 years in our future. Philadelphia, the Revelation territories. We have Revelation that is addressing the people. A chorister has been killed. And a chorister, he says they embody the spirit of the mutant land. A mutant's power who is selfless. A power that only helps others and not themselves. In this new world, they are seen as one of the most important mutant powers that exist. And this is all, of course, because they can power Revelation. They can make him stronger, and so he holds them to the highest standards, the highest tier. Fabian Cortez, he's like #1 top dog. The one that was killed was Topaz, murdered while she was helping a village. Murdered by X-Men. Revelation asking the crowd, are we gonna let these gene traders win? Are we gonna let them try to take away our Eden? A loud, thunderous no comes from the crowd. And Revelation tells them today we have a new one, a new gift, a new chorister. We see that Fabian Cortez is straight being a dick. Like, he is not being nice. Fabian Cortez is just Fabian Cortez. But we get this little kid that steps up. Her name is Rebecca. And even Revelation, he tells Fabian Cortez to shut up. He tells the kid to step forward. And while she's scared, she's petrified. She's only heard stories of Revelation. So of course, she's scared. She doesn't know what to think about this situation. She doesn't know what to make of it. But he tells her that you can just simply call me Doug. After this whole little speech and this whole little showboating thing that he's got going on, him and Rebecca, they go for a walk and they have a conversation. The conversation really is Rebecca saying, like, why are you so different in person than you are when you're presenting yourself to the people? And Doug, he laughs. He's like, you know, it is true. It's a really good point. Everything comes down to language. And language is my speciality. When I speak to our friends, all the mutants who live here, I have to be what they expect me to be. A cross between Magneto and Dr. Doom. They want a leader who sounds powerful. Someone who makes them feel safe and proud. They don't want their leader to be normal. They don't want him to be a regular guy. They want a leader who is more. Doug believes that it's his responsibility to give them that. But with Chance showing her way to her new chambers, her new room, Fabian Cortez is just being Fabian Cortez, being like, make sure to warn her about the ghost, trying to scare the kid. Now he says that this is the ghost of Philadelphia, that you can hear her whisper in your ear in the middle of the night. Some say that she even drives people mad. So when we pick up that night, we hear that ghost. Fabian Cortez wasn't lying. There's a ghost here. It whispers to her. It tells her that she's in danger. When we pick up the next morning, we see that young Rebecca, she's rather tired. Not really getting a lot of sleep because the ghost was definitely keeping her awake. But meeting up with all the others in the morning, she really wants to know, asking Cora, why is Fabian Cortez such a dick? Like, why is he so mean all the time? It all comes down to Fabian Cortez being the first. He wishes to hold his seniority over everybody else. He hates you, he hates me, he hates all of us because the fewer there are, the more important Fabian Cortez is to Revelation. Rebecca asking Cora if you could help me. Cora's like, no, I'm not gonna help you. But she explains like it's not my way. I'm not some soft earth mutant. I am of ARRAKO. The Iraqi learned that you have to solve problems on your own. If you don't, you perish. And with Revelation showing up, he says, speaking of ARRAKO, our guest is about to arrive shortly. We have a messenger, an ambassador, sent from the planet ARRAKO, sent from Apocalypse. He tells them, do not let them provoke you. And he means it. The last thing that they need is an interplanetary incident. With the teleport shielding down, we have the arrival of death. Child of Apocalypse, horseman, and messenger for ARRAKO. Doug Ramsey welcomes him to the Revelation territories. And of course, he knows why he's here, to deliver a message. Though if Doug's being honest, he expected the sister. He expected war, and not death. And Des says, you really expect my father to be so obvious to send war? And Doug's like, do you really think sending death as the emissary is the subtler message here? Like come on. But Death goes on to tell him that you failed in your mission. You have squandered your inheritance. You have perverted your purpose. Apocalypse demands that you surrender these territories, and then you submit to his judgment on ARRAKO. This is where Doug says, Apocalypse was always very direct. In anticipation of this, I've prepared a statement. Revelation says no, and Death pauses and says, we know what you're planning. What you're planning is an abomination. Now Revelation tells him, you've delivered your message, you've received mine. Now return to your world. This is where Death says a little respect, because I could look at you, Revelation. I could look at you and you would die. Doug tells him, and I could tell you to die, and you would do it. This is where Death, he drives that dagger just a little bit further in. Says, my father's message also comes postscript. Forgive me, please. But he says, we are saddened to hear of the loss of Bay the Blood Moon, a mighty warrior, hunter. We offer condolences of the death of your wife. This is where he calls his mutants to him. They power him up, and we see Revelation make Death kneel. We see Death drop down to his knees. And he tells him, you, who are of his blood, how it must have galled you to see me named as heir. Such words put in your mouth, that I have squandered my inheritance. But inheritance only comes after death. To tell Apocalypse any power that he had, any power that he held over me, over this world, he passed on to me. He passed on with his mission to me. So tell that old, sad, purposeless man in that retirement home that you call ARRAKO to piss off. He tells him to go home. Death saying as he teleports away, you shouldn't have said that. Doug tells him that you shouldn't have said that about my wife. So much for not being provoked. This is where we pick up a little bit later on. We have our young A.K.A. that sits here and she looks over the city. Fabian Cortez comes up and we see what we believe to be a nice little conversation. Fabian Cortez is really telling her this is what it's like to be as close as possible to the access of power, but not actually having the power yourself. We just saw Revelation humble Death, the ancient son of an even more ancient apocalypse. And we had a hand in it. Now at first A.K.A.'s like, I thought you didn't like me. And Cortez is like, I don't. I suppose it's kind of an instinct, a reflex, that you gotta understand. All that I have, I owe to my usefulness to Revelation. Seeing someone so younger, someone coming in, being able to replace me, it's only natural to feel threatened. Now she'll try to say, I don't want to replace you. I just want us all to be friends. I want us to work together and help Revelation. Cortez like, I believe you. I really do. But still, it's best not to take chances. This is where Cortez grabs A.K.A. and he throws her off of the building as she goes falling to her death. This is where the ghost of Philadelphia calls out to her. It cries out to her to use her power, to use it on the ghost. Not really sure, not really understanding, she uses her power. Young A.K.A. powers up the ghost, and finally she can take form. Finally, Kitty Pryde has returned, saving A.K.A. That is where this issue will end. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. This was a pretty damn good issue. All the other little tie-in stuff, they've been pretty good. I was very skeptical walking in. I didn't know how much of this we actually needed. But damn, getting into this story, it's been better than I thought. There's a few issues that are kind of like, I'll leave it, I'll take it. I'm not hugely impressed by it. But this week's issues really have made me be like, I'm excited. I originally had said that, if we go back and we look at binary and things of those nature, I said that it felt like this is jumping all over the place. That I wish we had gotten a more in-depth story. And in some regards, I still believe that. I wish that we could really expand this and just make it longer. Because if we're going to tell this story, I want it to really be told. I think that I want a deeper narrative. I want them to be able to flush out all of this and not lack any of that emotional impact. And while they're not given a lot of room to work with here, so far these stories are amping up to be really, really good. Like this story here, this comic here was absolutely phenomenal. Fabian Cortez just being his regular POS self straight up pushes a kid off of a building, and Kitty Pryde, intangible, has the power used on her, becomes tangible, and is able to grab the kid. But more than that, we see the war between ARRAKO and Earth begin. Revelation is getting ready. He's amping it up. Now, we talked about why Apocalypse would want to end everything, why he would want to stop him. It's not necessarily because of what he's done so far, though he will say, like, you've perverted it, you've probably, your coercion, using your language to force people to do things. We don't agree with that they should have their free will, but it should be survival of the fittest. But it seems the bigger plot, the bigger thing at play here is what Apocalypse really has issue with. What he is planning is what they're calling the abomination. But Doug doesn't care. He's like, you know what? You took off to ARRAKO. You left me in charge, you left me with the power, and I'm gonna do what the hell it is I want to do. So what comes next is war with ARRAKO. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your theories. If you want to get caught up on everything that is going on with this series, go ahead, check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It's going to get you caught up on everything that is going on so far with the Age of Revelation. If you want to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership. This is like Patreon, having a bunch of different tiers, a bunch of different options. It greatly helps out the channel in tremendous ways, but if you're not able to do that, simply do me the favor of subscribing to the channel, liking this video, hitting that notification bell, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.